Hi, this is Steve Lloyd. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to talk about a person that has influenced me in my life. Got into my 50s, I really reflect on, the people that are influencers and people from the past 10, 15, 20, 30 years that, keep me strong when, things get tough in my life. I talk about all the time that, life is filled with challenges. And, so I want to talk about Tony Perry today. I met Tony Perry through network marketing at a company called Stream probably about 9 years ago, and we instantly had a connection. I felt like he was a brother. He was just an influence on my life, our conversations, and the things that Tony's been through. He was a big real estate mogul in Georgia. He was a big builder. He was on Extreme Makeover with Tony Perry. And, he told me that story. And when he told me that story, he got to the point where, what was behind that story was two people died in a car crash. And they built a 7,000 square foot home in a matter of 4 days. And, that was kind of an exciting time of his life, being able to be on ABC. But Tony, the real thing was what he put into, building that home for the family that lost two children. There was two families. One family lost a child and another family lost a child. So, Tony was telling me, the struggles that he had through his life. And, after Extreme Makeover, about 7 months later, the whole economy collapsed. The mortgages collapsed, stock market collapsed. And Tony, unfortunately, lost a lot during that time period, about 6 months later. So Tony, in network marketing, he came down to Temple where I was building, and I was teaching him. He wanted to know how I bought houses with no money out of my pocket and used individual people to buy homes. And I would raise capital and put a first mortgage in there and a second mortgage from individuals, whether it was their regular money or their IRA money. And Tony was just blown away by that. So I was able to teach him. He kept flying up to Pennsylvania where I was having courses. And he came 3 or 4 times. He bought his amazing wife, Patty. And he was able to get back on his feet and start building again through private money. I went down and talked to some of his friends down at the University of Georgia. And from his hometown, he put 20 people, and I taught them how to be the bank and how to lend him money. But I think the biggest day was Tony got throat cancer, and another devastating setback in his life. And we all have to find, we all complain and we're upset and how tough life is. But there's just 2 days of my life where I can reflect back that when things get tough for me, and I think that problems aren't going to go away and I can't solve them. I revert back to these 2 days, and it was a day that I flew down to Houston when Tony was getting cancer treatments. I think he went through like 29 or 30 rounds of chemo. So I told Patty that I was going to fly down. I wanted to surprise him because I loved him so much. I wanted to be there for him. And so I flew down to Houston. there was a lockbox to get into the apartment, and he was gone all day seeing different doctors. So the funny story was I actually got in my underwear, a t-shirt, and my socks, and I was watching TV when he walked into the door, and his face was just it was a smile for a second, and he's just like, oh my gosh, and so about 3 minutes later, it went from a smile to me holding a paper bag, and he was throwing up in a paper bag. And that's one of those moments that I'll never forget. And then a couple minutes later, he was laying on the bathroom floor, completely suffering, completely begging God to take the pain away that he had. So we got through that night, and he had to go the next day and see all his doctors, and I got to go with him, and it was pretty cool. He went to a speech therapist because his throat was all burned from the cancer. He had burn marks all over the back of his neck, and going through that day was a day that I always reflect on, because there was cancer patients everywhere. And I think most people think when they hear a cancer, they think of people, over 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. But I saw, 3-year-olds with cancer, 5-year-olds with cancer, 10-year-olds with cancer. And I went through that whole day, and I actually got to see 2 of the patients ring the bell. And when you ring the bell and you're a cancer patient, that means you are leaving the hospital, and so it's pretty significant when you get to ring the bell. So that night I went back to my hotel room, and I was laying in bed, and I was reflecting on the day, and I just hear so many people complain, and that's why it's hard for me to complain, and I get so aggravated when people complain about their life, especially tedious things. Getting cut off by someone in a car. It absolutely irritates me, because that night what I realized as these cancer patients were walking, I was getting on and off the elevators, they all had smiles on their face. They had hats on, kick cancer's ass, F cancer. But there were 6 and 8-year-olds that just had beautiful smiles on their face with no hair. Most people think that, cancer affects 50, 60, 70, 80-year-olds. But I saw a bunch of 3, 4, 5, 10, 15-year-olds walking around with smiles on their face all day. And you know what? It's kind of heartfelt, because someone with cancer is smiling, but we're trying to look out and see, how long we could live. And they're just trying to live another day. And people were complaining and upset and complaining about life and their husband, their wife, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, their car they drive, where they eat, a bad meal. It just absolutely drives me crazy. That's why I try never to complain. I catch myself and I reflect on that day. And these people are just trying to live one more day because they have cancer. So that day was just such an influence, and Tony, has been an influence on my life for the past 10 years. The guy, he just doesn't have anything bad to say about anything, and he knows life so well. And he's been coming to Siesta Key, about every other month, and I sit and talk with him, and we can sit there and talk for most 18 hours. The only time we're not talking and we're not having fun and we're not having a conversation about life is when we're sleeping. And, when Tony's nearby, I always have this strong power, that I want to succeed to make him proud, because some of the hardships that he has, I want to implement my success in my life. And I want to share that with Tony and Patty, because they have such an influence on my life. After I sold my apartment building 2 years ago, and my life changed forever, through the sale of that property, I took Tony and Patty to Turks and Caicos, and we got to spend, 11 days there. And it was the best 11 days that I've had, and I don't know how long. But getting up in the morning, and Tony likes to sleep in, so Patty was up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we got to talk about her life and what was going on in my life. Then Tony would get up, and Patty would go work out at the gym, and I'd get to spend 2 or 3, Tony and I would go to breakfast, and we would sit at breakfast for 3.5 hours, from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10:30. Wasn't good for my health, because, we kept having, we went back for more than one serving. But it was, whenever I'm around Tony, there's so much joy in my life. I love this man so much. And I just try to spend as much time with him as I can. And every time he leaves Siesta Key, I'm like, just when you coming back? You really should be here, every month, and, leave Georgia and the stress that you have and building those homes, and come back and hang with Steve Lloyd in some palm trees, and get Patty down here. And, he was here a couple weeks ago, and we were able to go wave running and go out to dinner and go out to breakfast. And I just love spending time with this man. He just has all the right words all the time to say. And I hope I can take his spirit and his energy and put it into my life and share his stories to other people. And that's what Tony and I are both about. You know, we want to help as many people as we possibly can when they're in troubled times. And, you know, I can talk to them about the day I spent at MD Anderson. It was one of the most powerful days of my life with Tony Perry. And, you know, Tony, I just want to say thank you. I love you, buddy.